Yes, hello, welcome everybody, it's Chris here from MoDXtra, back again today with another board game unboxing and review, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at Mandala Stones. Right, okay then, so Mandala Stones, a bit of info at the top of the vid, like always. It's by Board and Dice Games. It's an abstract game, clearly inspired by the kind of craft painting fashion, the Mandala Stone painting fashion of the moment. It's listed as 2 to 4 players with a 30-minute run time for ages 10+, and I'll be testing that for sure. It's one of my intentions to try this out with my daughter, who's 11 years old, see how she feels about the game, as well as with my wife. It's an abstract game. It's got a kind of Azul sort of vibe. I think that's a comparison that's going to be drawn a great deal with Mandala Stones. I don't know if you can see from the back of the box there, but it's got a kind of, you know, a token collecting thing about it. I've not, you know, read the rulebook yet or played it. I'll go away and do that imminently, but it's got a kind of Azul style vibe, so I'd be interested to know the similarities and differences there, and why you might take Mandala Stones off the shelf over Azul. It's definitely got a lovely shelf presence. It's a very eye-catching kind of box, very colourful, very dynamic, certainly one that you might take pause in your local gaming store to have a look at on the shelf there. So we've got a very kind of colourful, dynamic vibe. Full disclosure before I get into doing the box opening and then reviewing the game, this was sent to me by Board and Dice Games for review, however with no expectations or influence over how I review it or that I review it positively, so everything you'll get from this video will be my perfectly honest perspective. But there you go, there's Mandala Stones. I've seen it out and about here in the UK, selling for between the £25 and £30 mark at all your favourite kind of retailers. However, there will be a link in the description below to a couple of slightly discounted ones that I've seen knocking around from my local gaming store and some popular retailers here in the UK. But there you go, there's Mandala Stones. So what we're going to do now is jump over to the overhead camera, crack it open to take a look at the components and the bits and bobs inside. Then I'm going to go away and give it a play with my wife and daughter, get their thoughts and feelings on the game, and then come back and give you a bit of a review at the end. So stick around to hear our thoughts, but next up, let's see what it looks like inside. Right, okay then, so we've jumped over to the overhead camera so that we could take a look at the guts inside, at the bits and bobs. Let's unbox this bad boy. So, as I said in the intro, all I've done so far is pop the cellophane wrapper. This is my first time opening it as well, so you'll get my raw, unfettered first impressions as we take a look. So let's get the lid off there and have a look. So we've got, to start with, an instruction manual. Looks pretty straightforward. Nice illustrations in there, just working you through the game. I mean, in terms of actual rules, it's, you know, it's an 8-page document which is largely illustrated, not very text heavy. So we may find that it's pretty one of those easy to learn, difficult to master kind of things, perhaps, but we'll find out. So a short instruction manual there to take a look at. Then we've got the player boards here. Let's get them opened up. Let's have a look at these. Okay, so yeah, it looks like there's a, you know, a kind of running score track here, and some information about stacks that you're building. Again, I've not read the rulebook yet, so the implications of that. I must admit, these are a bit weebly wobbly, you know, when you compare it to, you know, like the boards on Azul, for example, or and the like. It's a bit flimsy, but well printed enough, I suppose. Then we've got, what are these here? Like a kind of central playboard by the looks of it, with a bit of pop-out card. Double-sided, that. Is that the same on both sides? Is that the same on both sides? No, these ring colours are different, I think. But in any case, yeah, it seems to have these different colour rings. They're probably indicating something in terms of the gameplay, I suspect. Then we have another kind of board with some pop-out bits. Look at this. Look at the pop-out skills there on display. So these say +50, some +50 tokens. We have another sort of running trail in a sort of whirlpool swirly pattern. Is that the same on both sides? Yeah, it appears to be the same on both sides. That sort of reminds me of Quaxer Quedlinburg a little bit. Then we've got the tokens themselves. Oh, these look... well, they might have skimped on the player boards, but these tokens seem pretty good quality. They're plastic. Got that lovely satisfying... Hang on, let me do this to the mic. That lovely satisfying kind of... Oh, I dropped one! I dropped one! That lovely satisfying kind of clinky sound. And a variety of colours there. There's like a purple, a pink, a sort of sky blue, a yellow in the tokens. Two big old bags of those. We've then got a draw bag, which I assume as some part of the gameplay process exists to manage the tokens. Some little wooden... Some black wooden tokens here. Throw the silica out the way. Which I'm sure will have a part to play in the gameplay. These look like... oh, these are interesting. Oh, I think I saw on the back of the box, these are the player... Like your player indicators. Although there's nothing to differentiate them. So does everyone have the same indicating token? Interesting. And the same again in this bag here. Get rid of the silica. There we are. So we've got 4 of these little stacks. Then a little deck of cards here, which looks interesting. Let's have a ganders at this. If you end the game with only this pattern visible. Alright, so these must be like little bonus points or little gameplay twists. So that's kind of interesting as well. So there we go, there's all the gubbins inside. There's a little, what's that for there? I wonder. It's got the plastic insert for your storage. I'll go reclaim that one I dropped in a bit. So they go there. That goes there. Oh, I tell you what that must be. Ta-da, the 50 plus tokens, put them there. Put those there. Yeah, everything all seems to fit and package away neatly. So it's sort of maintained, you know, the colourful... sort of dynamic feel. I like the way the colours sit on this sort of grey background. It's quite visually appealing. I like the tokens. I don't know if they compare to like the tokens in Azul, but there's certainly quite a bit of effort gone into those. Decent quality draw bag. Yeah, that seems decent quality enough. I'll have to understand why these all look the same and what they're to indicate. But yeah, there we go. So that is the guts, the inside of Mandala Stones. Looking good so far. So I'm now going to go away and get a couple of games in with my wife and my daughter. We'll see what our vibe is on that one, and I'll come back in a couple of days to share some review thoughts. So let's go leap forward in time now. Yes, welcome back to part 3 of the vid. You have travelled forward in time around 5 days. As I said in the section before, I was going to go away and give it a few plays and then come back and give some final thoughts at the end. And I did indeed get a chance to play. I did some 2-player games with my wife over the weekend. And honestly, our initial impressions are pretty positive. There was some scepticism on my wife's part to begin with. She was like, well, you know, we've got some abstract games of this nature already in our collection. Is it something we need? Is it something we'll find ourselves, you know, choosing over and above stuff like Sagrada and Azul? But I think what we found upon playing it is beyond the sort of the tone and the aesthetic of Mandala Stones, that actually it offers a bit of a different gameplay experience, and we found it very enjoyable. Certainly learning it fresh out the box was very straightforward. The instruction manual is nice and comprehensive, well laid out. It's certainly an easy game to learn. There's no question about it. But once you start playing the game and getting under the skin of it, you realise that it's definitely an example of an easy to learn but complicated to master. There's many tactical layers and tactical depths hidden within the game that don't immediately make themselves apparent to you until you kind of start getting into it and playing the game. Things like the scoring mechanisms, the way that you score. They have, each of your scoring areas have a different way of accruing points. This takes a little bit of kind of thought and strategy and consideration. It's quite a thinky game in that respect. You certainly need to be paying attention to what your opponent's doing, kind of considering what their options and their next moves might be. The use of the board to accrue your Mandala Stones to then ultimately move towards scoring is quite tactical, actually. You can do clever little moves to sort of block your opponent out from getting what you think they might be looking for next, which has got a little added sort of competitive element, so it's not just kind of sitting around waiting for everyone to take their turn. You're paying careful attention to what's going on, so that you can strategize and think about your next move yourself. It's very straightforward to play. There's only two actions that you can take on your turn. You can either move one of the artists to accrue some more stones, or you can score up. Although in one circumstance, when your scoring board is full, you can only choose the score option. You have to start scoring. But yeah, you definitely have to kind of have some foresight, think ahead, strategize ahead as to how you're going to go about scoring. There's also the deck of cards with the additional objectives on them, which add an extra layer. These are yours and yours alone, that only you're aware of and that you can see, although you can start to sort of discern from your opponent. If you're familiar enough with the objective deck, you can start to discern kind of, what are they going for there? I feel like there's a red stone vibe happening over there. Although, incidentally, we had a bit of a discussion about this, and we think the red stones look really rather pink, actually. Just as an FYI. So yeah, really enjoyable. Each game in the two-player format lasted around 25-30 minutes, which wasn't too bad. It's about right for the type of gameplay that me and my wife enjoyed to do together over a glass of wine on a Saturday night. Very easy to set up. I've got a whole thing about big setups and big teardowns, and it was just out the box and ready to play, and then back and packed away when we were done and dusted. It absolutely is a game that we're going to be playing some more of. One thing that we do want to do that we haven't done yet is give it a try with my eldest child, my daughter, to see how well it lands with her. She's at sort of 10, 11. I think that learning the rules is straightforward, but I wonder if some of the tactical depth might elude her. But we'll see how that pans out. And I'd love to hear in the comments below, if you have played as a family and you've got young children, how well they responded to the game, because I'd be interested to know that. So it definitely has a place on my shelf. It's a keeper as far as we're concerned. We are definitely going to be giving this one a play many times yet, I think, before we bore of it. I wonder if there's a point where it will just become repetitive and we'll have exhausted the tactical lengths of the game, but time will tell with that one. That's just that's an assumption that I can't back up at this stage. So yeah, Mandala Stones, for the price, for the quality, and for the gameplay experience, definitely gets a thumbs up from the True Mr. 6 household. We here at MoDXtra Towers enjoyed it very, very much, and I think we'd recommend it. Yeah, absolutely. We think it's one that you should consider. So definitely shortlist it if you're looking to buy a new game right now. Well, there we go then. So there's my final thoughts. I hope you enjoyed our video today. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel. We do lots of tabletop gaming related content here in amongst the variety of random stuff that we put out. We're big fans of fighting fantasy novels. We're big fans of tabletop board games and card games. So please do subscribe to the channel, and if you enjoyed what you watched today, give us a thumbs up and keep an eye out for our next review. Okay, thanks for watching, folks. Ta-ra!